All right. So you decided that you wanted to get into laser engraving, and you got your laser or lasers, and now you're wondering, okay, what computer will work with my laser? Well, in this episode, we're going to answer those questions. And it's kind of it's kind of a hit and miss answer. And it's a loaded question. Hey guys, Rick the Ooge. And today, we're sponsored by, again, me. So we're going to talk into this, and we're going to try to get into the nuts and bolts a little bit. And I'm going to make it as simplistic as possible. When it comes down to lasers, you got different types of lasers out there. You have what I call open sourced, and then you have what's called proprietary source lasers. Now, what are the differences? Open source, like my AP laser right here, and even my San Antonio laser, which was kind of an iffy type thing. It was closed source until a few years ago, and I'll get into that here in one moment. There are certain, if you've got a proprietary type of laser, well, they have their own software that they want to use. And sometimes it expects, actually about 9 out of 10 times, they want you to use a certain computer. Now, there are multiple types of deals. So we're going to go over it real quick in this episode. I want y'all to understand that this is all from my purview. This is all from my understandings and what I've dealt with. And I'm going to tell you also what the requirements are for that PC back there. So to give you kind of a backstory, when I ordered my AP laser right over here, it came as a turnkey deal. Now that turnkey, that means you walk in, you have it delivered, and you're able to go in and laser engrave from the second you plug it in. No, it isn't. There's still, and even if you're dealing with like Glowforge or what have you, there's still some setups that you have to do. With now going into these industrial style lasers, you have other things that you have to contend with. Besides, I had to put this together, and believe me, that was difficult. But that said, the computer that it came with, it was a Lenovo laptop that had 8 gig of RAM. And I thought, hey, free computer, yay! Well, free is relative. But when it came down to it, after 6 months of use, designing, using the software and everything, the computer bricked. And there was a time where I could not use this. And I had to think on my feet. Now, that software that they were selling me was RDWorks, and it had this whole different suite of stuff on there. But then at that point in time, now mind you, this was 5 years ago, there was another software out there that was just coming on the market called Lightburn. Now, I think it'd been around for a little bit, but not too long. I've got to look at the dates. But it worked out in a way that I was not expecting. Now, I bought PCs for years. I was a PC fan. Every time that the new OS came out, I had to buy the new laptop or new computer, whether it was a desktop, or laptop, or both. And I did that for years. Matter of fact, the best computer I've ever owned, PC-wise, was what I called a mutt. That was one that I had custom made. And that was back in '95. But that's it. It was a very good computer. Wasn't bloated. It worked the way that I wanted to for what it was at the time. Now, would I have used it on this computer, or on this Lazer rather? Maybe an updated version, but that's beside the point. But Galvo style lasers and gantry style lasers have been predominantly using PC type of computers. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're good. They do the things that are expected of them. And life is fat, dumb, and happy. Kind of like me. But the thing is, times change. There's an adage that says, Apple is for pay, PC's for play. Now, whether that's true or not, it all depends on you and what you do with your laptop or your PC or computer or whatever. But back to the deal. There are two types of programmings out there. There's ones that are driven strictly by PC. Your EasyCADs, your RDWorks, and your proprietary type of engraving software. Those are all PC based. Until a few years ago with Galvo. Then, and Macs weren't used predominantly in laser engraving. Now me, I love my Macs. I'll admit it, I am a Mac boy. I love my Apple products. Some may hate me. I'll work it out in therapy. But there was that software program that I constantly use, Lightburn. And this is a software that saved my bacon, because I had a 10-year-old iMac, 27-inch screen, and I was in the midst of a job. So this is how bad it was. So what I did was I took that iMac, brought it out to my garage, set it up, plugged everything in, loaded up Lightburn on that thing. Now, the thing about Lightburn is it is not monolingual. That means it didn't just work on PC. It worked on PC, it works on Mac, and it works on Linux. It's a beautiful thing. It was a novel concept at the time. Now, I don't have experience with Linux. No big whoop. But I do have experience with Mac and PC. So I went strictly from using RDWorks on this thing to using Lightburn. And I haven't looked back. I honestly haven't. I've only used probably about 10%, if that much. An argument could be made for 15, but I have not used the full power of Lightburn. Now, as I said, Lightburn works on PCs, Macs, and Linux. So it covers a whole spectrum and even whenever I got it on here, it wasn't just working on these gantry styles, it was working on your diode lasers. And that was a huge, huge thing. Now, fast forward a few years. Now, that's why I've got that PC laptop back there, is because I had a Galvo laser. I was forced to use EasyCAD 2. And that was one of the things that I had to use whenever I got that new Galvo style laser. Well, about a year or so after I got my Galvo style laser, Lightburn decided, hey, we are going to do a new little trick. Every Galvo style laser at the time and currently that works with EasyCAD 2 will now work with Lightburn. So that is a huge step in laser engravings. So now when it comes down to my Galvo style laser, I can use a Mac, and that's a beautiful thing. Now we're going to talk about system requirements for both of those computer systems. Now, as I mentioned, I was running an 8 gig Lenovo PC laptop. This laptop back here is 16 gig. There's a huge difference. So I don't have the bogging down that my original laptop had. And I did have words with AP Laser that Lenovo that they were sending out with these lasers were junk. And I don't mean the brand, I meant that the RAM was not there. So it cannot, I'm a all-in-one type of thing. I do my design on the laptop, I print from the laptop or engrave from the laptop, and yeah, I wanted everything all in one package because the key word was this laser right here was a turnkey operation. Didn't mention anything about having, a PC to do your design and that laptop they sent out to do the engraving or to run the brains over here. It wasn't that big of a deal. But I turned it into one. And a few years later, they decided, you're not supposed to be using that laptop for your engraving. You're supposed to do that, whatever. The point is, if you want to do a laser engraving business, make sure you have the right tools for that job. If you plan on doing your engraving, your design, and everything from that laptop or computer, get the biggest one you can, the one that you can afford. Now, I'm going to go over the minimum requirements. I'm not going to talk about processors because depending on if you're getting newer stuff, whether it's AMD or Intel, my subject matter expert tells me AMD is the best one to go with. All right, I'll buy that. I don't know, but I'll buy it. But here's what I think. Number one, on your RAM, you need to have a minimum of 16 gigs. End of story. Storage, immaterial. And that goes across your PC, your Mac, your Linux. Well, Linux I don't know too much about because I don't have any expertise in that one. But of the two main ones, that's what I would recommend. Now, let's throw in a third option. When it comes down to, how should we say, doing a YouTube channel, doing, your creator, getting your creator on, where you're doing editing, you're using DaVinci Resolve, you're using Premiere Pro, you're using Max version. I would recommend that you bump that up just a little bit, just a minimum of 32 gigs of RAM. It's very important. And one of the things that, especially in Macs, that I've noticed, and whenever I bought my original Mac Mini, original to me, I bought an M1 8 gig. I thought, well, maybe it was just the Lenovo being bloated and all that fun stuff. That bogged down. It still works, don't get me wrong. In fact, I even edit these videos on that using DaVinci Resolve. I had to shut down a lot of stuff because it has bricked up on me and just shut everything down. You know, it's one of those things of what do we do? So, my recommendations for PCs, if you're doing it, whether you're doing a laptop or a tower, go ahead and, you know, towers would be a lot easier because you can upgrade a lot easier. If 16 isn't working for you, you can bump it up to 32, 64 rather easily. When it comes down to your Macs, since they have those Apple Silicon chips, upgrade is very, very hard. So the Mac Mini, the current Mac Mini, they've gotten to where the minimum I think is like 16 or 32. I'll have to check. And their studio. I would highly recommend. That's one that I'm looking at getting. And if we win the Redneck Retirement Fund, I may have two. But the minimum on that is 32 gig, which is perfect for what I do. I do my designs, I do my editing for these videos. I do everything for, you know, with the Mini or with the Mac. I don't do that with this because one, there's no AC. And two, it's close to the refrigerator. But the point is, making sure that you have the right PC when you buy your laser. Ask these questions. What do I need to have to make the pew pew on this work properly? Or the pew pew on your Galvo work properly? If you're running EasyCAD 2.5D and 3s, I think you still have to have a PC. But ask those questions. That will drive what you actually need at the house or at your business. Now, you could still, you could potentially still do your designs on a Mac and load it up to the, a cloud or what have you. It's not a big deal. That's something else. Make sure you always back up your laptops and any computer to a cloud, whether it's OneCloud or OneDrive or whatever cloud service you use, or if you do your own server. Make sure everything's backed up to it. But for me, right now, with Lightburn and what I have available to me, I'm able to have, I can run both of them off PC, Mac, doesn't matter. And it's all thanks to Lightburn. Now, I'm not a paid spokesman for Lightburn. I would love to be, but I'm not. But again, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching my channel and getting, appreciating my sense of humor and my dryness at times. But it's all a learning experience. If you have any comments or what have you, put them down below. Ask questions. I'm not afraid to answer. If I don't know the answer, I will get you the answer. Or I'll at least point you to a video. And speaking of which, check out one of these videos and see whether laser engraving works for you. I'm about to drop my, I just dropped my video on doing acrylics. So check that out. I tried to do my best. I'm still learning the editing, or at least my editor is, and we're still trying to tag out on stuff. And I noticed on the last video he was mocking me, but immaterial. Again, Rick the Huge, I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you here real soon. I've got other videos. I've still got the exhaust fan video that I'm working on. The script is almost done on that, but I wanted to get this out. So have a great day, stay safe, and I will see you on the next one.